One of the biggest mistakes that we make when we want to look at the reasons or causes for modern day dissolution of marriage, the high rate of divorce that we see in the society, is by being selective in trying to explain the causes that lead to this divorce. We somehow blame feminist ideologies or Western media interpretations of what love is or what marriage is, but we don't look at the whole picture of what actually causes or leads to divorce in this modern day society. We somehow are even selective by only listing out causes and reasons that are only peculiar to women without even trying to extend the same courtesy to the men as well. Now, this is what you call reductionist fallacy, when we try to reduce facts to a minimal cause. For instance, now we'll talk about the lead causes of female infertility. You could see people saying that late marriages cause female infertility, but in actuality or in reality, there are numerous forces or factors, which includes lifestyle, the male genetic. If a man is above a certain age, his sperm reduces, but we don't also look at those factors as lead causes of infertility in a woman that is in marriage. We also look at the age and the environment, but the society has somehow structured us to only look at factors like age as the only cause or lead cause of infertility. But then there is a numerous reasons that actually contribute to infertility. The same way when we're talking about what leads to divorce, we are selective of the information that we share and we pass, and most of the informations I've come across are informations that are only peculiar, or they are only making references to women, what the woman did not do and what the woman did. But in reality, it takes two to tango. It takes two to make a marriage work, which means that for a marriage to be successful, a man has to bring in his 50%, the wife has to bring in her 50%, and two of them will join them together and get the 100% quotient or marker that makes up what makes this marriage a success. But when we are being trying to listen to this conversation or reasons why, we are only quick to only point out to the inefficiencies of the woman. Now, when we now look at what this Arawa beautiful sister said in her video, I'm just going to make a quick summary, then we can get on with the conversation. Now, she pointed out marriages is perceived by Arawa, and she said that if you want the best wives, meet Arawa women, northern women. Now, why is that possible? Now, she said that how the northern women perceive marriage, or not just how the northern women perceive marriage, but how does their society perceive unmarried women. It's some sort of a stigma. It's very sentimental, that even if you have a degree, and no matter the achievements of what you've gathered or the degree you've gathered in your pocket, it does not matter so far you are not married. So every achievement that you have made in life is ineffective, and it's not enough unless you are married. So this whole sentiment and how the society treats unmarried women in Arawa society has contributed to how Arawa women behave when they are in marriage. Now, this is not just peculiar to Arawa women. It is everywhere. Even in southwest, southeast, it is there, but it is much pronounced within Arawa community. Now, they have created series of classes, and she listed out what the Arewa women are expected to do. Your intimacy game with your husband has to be top notch, even if the man has like 4, 5, 10 wives. Your own intimacy game with your partner has to be much more than the other one. So it becomes sort of a competition, and you now see, according to her, you now see these women, trying out different Kayamata products because they want to increase their sex activities with their partner. Now, she also talked about cooking, how they have to be respected. She listed out things that the Arawa men want and what the Arawa women give them in order to remain and be in their good grace. Now, she now said that unfortunately, all these classes that the women attend, cooking classes, sex classes, all these activities that these women do in order to maintain and keep their home and maintain their husbands as well do not go through the process. They don't make the same effort, and they don't even try to engage in some of these activities, because as women or as adults, we need to also understand that women have sexual intimate needs. So a situation where the woman is always up and doing researching, documenting, trying to know how to please the husband in the bedroom, and the man is not doing the same thing, she would not complain, because in their culture it's better for her to starve herself, please the husband, and her own interest is not represented. Now, she just made a lot of points in that video, but it's trying to talk about how the classes or how Arawa women are being brought up and trained to be able to satisfy and take care of their husband. Unfortunately, the same courtesy is not extended to the women. Now, bringing down this conversation down to the Igbo context. Now, let's look at our ancient Igbo society. We had a system or a form or a place where women go to learn how to be wives and how to be mothers. They when you're of age, or when you've got to that age where you're supposed to be married, these women they leave their communities, their father's house, they go into this secluded hut. No man is allowed, only women, and only the women who are of age and older women who comes in to teach them how to be mothers, how to take care of their husband intimately inside the bedroom, and all these kinds of conversations that are being held with the young girl inside that particular hut. It's a group. Now, after that activity, those girls come out, and this is when they now some that are now moving into womanhood, and they wear these kinds of jigida where they kind of walk around the village in search of men who are going to choose them and tell the parents that I saw this your child and I want to marry this child, because she has gone through that process of training her to be a wife and how to be a mother, even what she should expect during childbirth and her first night with her husband and all these activities. Now, because of how our society is currently structured, we don't have these huts where women go in for these kinds of education. So this kind of education is primarily left for the women, and I guess this is where women have these conversations. This is where they would even teach the daughters, even if your husband is not meeting up, because at some point they would know that something is wrong somewhere. Their bodies would tell them. Women would tell you that our body would tell us that something is wrong in that aspect. And this is when the woman wants to try out and do things. So this is when they have this conversation. This is when these women are being taught. And most of these things are not being shared with our men. Because I think that looking at how much I've grown, how much I've read about a woman's maternal health, fertility, what causes infertility, what causes miscarriages, how the woman's body functions, childbirth, how it is, how does it even work. Now, with so much information that I've read and I've gathered, I can able to tell you that there are so many information that our fathers did not have about women, because they spiritualized it. Something like when a woman has a miscarriage or when a child dies, they somehow refer it as, or maybe female mortality, mother and maternal mortality. They somehow look at it as a cause, a problem, that she did something. They spiritualize it, but in reality, there are so many causes or things that could lead to a woman dying during childbirth. Now, for instance, now when a woman has a pregnant woman, when she has something that we call placenta previa, now it's a situation where the placenta is covering the cervix, it's covering the womb of the cervix, and without that opening, the baby cannot be pushed out. So she could try to push and push and push, but because of that singular blockage, that baby cannot come out, and exhaustion, bleeding, and other things can basically lead to the woman dying. on other things such as a breech baby, the baby, that side of the baby coming down head first, it is leg first. In some situations the baby comes out even with the legs, but in higher situations that is the surest way for a woman to die during childbirth. Or things like she bled to death, what could cause it? She could have preeclampsia. So there are so many factors that are not spiritual, that are natural. It just happens. There is no explanations to these things, but we don't know. Now this is why modern medicine for is good and important, essential for maternal health. Because what happens here is that they would now check to, they'll scan, is the baby positioned right, where is the location of the placenta, and all those things, and it helps to save the life of the child, the mother and the child. And doctors will now tell you that you cannot give birth through natural means. You have to go through CS. And once you hear this CS, people think it is some sort of a mysterious or spiritual problem, or you're not woman enough, or you're not. No, but there are medical reasons why the doctor is going to say you are going to go through cesarean section. And for some women, they don't have the strength to push, and I admire them for their strength, and they go straight to elective surgery. Now I'm trying to bring in issues about women into this conversation, because women, we need to start having these conversations, because if we don't have these conversations, our men will not have these conversations for us. And this is why I've read all the things I have to read. I'm still reading, I'm still looking at what our society, how these things are, like even things like miscarriages. And we ask, what could cause a miscarriage? It could be something as chromosomal abnormality, which it's a natural thing. It occurs. Then our body is equipped to eject and to reject that baby, leading to miscarriage, because maybe there is a chromosome that is supposed to be used for the development of the heart, the brain, and all those things, and it is not happening. The child is no longer growing, then it is just going to immediately lead to a miscarriage. There is nothing spiritual, not even prayer, not even our sacrifices can say that it's a natural process. Because even from birth, even from the womb, from conception, it is a system of a survival of the fittest, even when the sperm are racing to the egg. So our existence has been structured in a way that from the moment of conception, even before conception, it is you have to survive by all means. So we have been struggling to survive. But women, our mothers could know these things, but they won't be able to share this information for one or two reasons known to them. And this is why when we have these conversations, you hear our men saying that in those days a woman would not die because of childbirth, because that's not true. That's not true. It is not because of that. This happens naturally. Now, the increase that we are seeing could be looked at or linked to factors that we are seeing now, what we eat, in the environment that we are in, how polluted the environment is, environmental factors, lifestyle changes, and age, and all those things can now be keyed into what has now led to the increase of the number of how we now see the occurrence of these unfortunate circumstances. Now, going back to the conversations, when our mothers, we had this system where women are being raised and taught how to be good mothers, good wives, and the rest of it. But the question is, are our fathers, our husbands, our sons, are they being taught? Are they being taught how to be husbands, fathers, and sons? Are they being taught? Now the people of Igbariam, they have this system, they call it Imego Oye. It's just like you're paying a dowry, or you're paying something to have an intimate relationship with a married woman. This is going to blow up. Like, people are going to be angry, but get me, understand where I'm coming from. I'm not saying you should go and do it. I'm just saying it is a practice, just like polygamy, just like our ancestors practiced polygamy. But what happens in this practice of Imegoi is that the man, a young man, can, maybe the woman wants to be in a relationship. I don't know how the dynamics works, but let's say one person wants to have a relationship with the other person. Maybe it is the young boy that wants to have a relationship with the woman, to an extent that a man could see you from the community and want his fellow man to have like a relationship with the wife, maybe to keep her comfortable in the other room, and he's going to invite him and tell him. So this is called imegoi. Now it is a practice. Now what happens here is that the young man would come with his family. They will do some certain traditional rites with kola nuts, and he's going to pay a certain amount of money. Now the money would be given to the woman's mother. The money will be given to the woman's mother. Now, when the boy has done whatever thing that the traditional rites required, he can now be in a relationship with the married woman. Any child that comes out from that union belongs to the father, to the husband, because in our customs and tradition, what signifies paternity is the bride price. So once a bride price has been paid for a woman, every child, whether it is biologically belonging to the husband or not, belongs to the husband. That's our traditional practice. Now, imegoi, the logic or the essence of this particular practice of imegoi is to teach young men how to be husbands. I'm not saying fathers because they have a father, but it is teaching them how to be husbands. So it's a stage that prepares them. It prepares them, teaches them how to be husbands, how to take care of their home, how to be providers, protectors through and through. This is the essence of this particular practice. It is there for a purpose. Every culture that we have, it is there for a purpose. It does not just exist because we want it to, or we just want to have access to sexual immoralities. No, it exists for a particular reason. So imegoi exists because there was the need to teach young men how to be husbands. So we'll now see that in our indigenous society, there is a system that has been outlined to teach men and women how to be husbands, men how to be husbands, women how to be wives and mothers. Now, again, we need to also know that this particular practice, it is peculiar to the people of Igbariam. So in your community, it might not be there, but in Igbariam specifically, it is there. Now, the question that we're now going to ask now is there any similar practice in other communities? I'm only sure of Igbariam, so I'm using Igbariam as my reference. I don't know about other communities. But it is now your job and my job to now check, are there other similar practices within our indigenous societies? Now, because our system, in our Asian Igbo society, we had this system that brought in the man and the woman, and we're teaching, we're learning. Everybody was taught how to be this to their partner, to their family. But in our current society, who teaches men how to be husbands? So we will now see like 80% of women are being prepared for marriage. But what's the percentage of men that are actually being prepared for marriage? Unfortunately, I had this conversation with a cousin of mine, or let's say a friend of mine. He was about to get married. He was about to get married, but he was still asking me for contacts of any of my friends that he would want to be in a relationship with. This is a person that is preparing to get married. And even in our indigenous society, what is expected of him is, if he wants to be polygamous, he makes it official to the first wife and to the second woman. It is not something that you hide behind closed doors. It's an atrocity for you to even do that. And this is why, because extramarital relationships are forbidden in our culture, men are not promiscuous. They do not sleep with anything on skirts. They are raised and trained properly. It is not something you hide. It is something you come out to do with your full chest. Because everybody knows, everybody is aware. Communication is key. But the whole thing there is that we had a process that enabled us to learn from one another. Men are being taught, women are being taught, but in our society, only women are now being taught how to be mothers. And because only women are now being taught how to be mothers and wives, divorce rates are increasing on a regular. Divorce rates are increasing on a regular because it takes two distant people making efforts. And our men could say, yes, we are doing this and doing that. But then you now need to understand is the effort you are putting in, is it what your spouse wants? Are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it based on what the society said you should do as a man? Or are you doing the right thing for your family, the people that you call wife and the people that you call children? So are you doing right by them? Now, because of this dissonance, we now have a lot of people, a lot of men listening to alpha male toxic podcasts. You now see people listening to the likes of Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and the rest of them. But you will never see this set of people listening to Peter Edochie. You will never see this set of people listening to people like Ugezu, or matured men that understands what family is within the Igbo context. So our young men have to know that the woman is not the only person that should be blamed for the high rate of divorce and people and the solution of marriages. They also have a role to play and a contribution to make, which means that we need to start re-establishing a way thereby men are being taught how to be good husbands and good fathers, and as well women are also being taken through the same process. And when we do that, we hope that every other factors can be settled by this singular solution or by this singular act. And until next time, yeah guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. My name is Ejafobiri Ugusomdochukwu, and I run this blog. I also have an article. I have 2 books that I have written about Igbo culture, our spirituality, and some of the concepts that we have in our traditional customs. Now if you want any of them, you can reach out to me via the comment section, or you should check out my blog or my Instagram at Ordinanibu, and I'm going to send you a DM and I'm going to respond. Or if you're in the States, you can get it on Amazon. It is better from there than shipping from there to there. So until next time, also don't forget to subscribe. Yeah guys, yeah.